hey, you know that feeling, that little nudge, that exciting idea for something on the side, maybe even a whole new business. It's thrilling, right?
Oh, totally.
But then, bam,
Oh,
reality check. You're juggling work, life, everything, and suddenly that bright idea feels like, well, like another huge weight to carry.
yeah?
You've got the vision, maybe, but how do you actually get started without feeling completely, swamped?
That's exactly where we're focusing today. We've looked at a really helpful bunch of resources,
Mm-hmm.
everything from practical ways to manage your time and get the word out there,
Okay.
to some really crucial stuff on keeping yourself from burning out.
Yeah.
And importantly, making sure that awesome idea of yours actually has some solid ground to stand on.
Right.
Our goal here is really just to boil it all down. What are the steps you can actually take?
Yeah.
The stuff that helps you launch to that project without feeling like you're drowning in info.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. We're going for a straightforward, kind of friendly look at what truly matters when you're just starting out.
Perfect. Because we're talking about articles with smart tips on scheduling, getting your name out there, some very honest advice on avoiding that dreaded burnout,
Definitely need that.
and some really solid expert insights on testing your business idea and steering clear of those classic startup mistakes. We even checked out stories from people who've actually done it, built their own thing while working full time.
Yeah, those are always inspiring.
So let's jump right in. First things first, maybe. What's actually driving you to do this? What's the real why behind it all?
Ah, that's such a fundamental question, isn't it? Understanding your why is absolutely key. It's what's going to keep you going when things get tough.
And they will get tough.
Let's be honest. Yeah, there will be tough moments.
Hmm.
We came across a really insightful point from Jordan Platten. He talked about feeling like he was hitting a ceiling in a traditional career, that feeling of just living for the weekend.
Oh, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Totally.
I think so too.
And he brings up a great point about how entrepreneurship is often portrayed. You see this glamorous picture, right? Freedom, endless cash, especially all over social media.
Right, the highlight reel.
Exactly. But the real deal involves a massive amount of your own drive, staying focused, and just plain hard work. It's not always that easy breezy image you see online.
Not at all. Not at all. And sometimes that really strong why comes from a place of necessity. Platten mentioned how a lot of successful business owners were kind of pushed into a corner before they took that leap.
Interesting.
It's that point where, the discomfort of staying where you are becomes greater than the fear of venturing out on your own.
That makes sense. Like, the pain of staying put is worse than the feel of starting something new.
Precisely. So really digging deep and figuring out your core motivations. Is it financial goals? Is it a longing for more fulfillment, maybe? Or a need for greater control over your time? That's the essential first step, really understanding that.
Okay, so you've figured out your why, you're motivated. Now comes what feels like a huge obstacle for so many, especially if you're working a regular job. Time. How do you even begin to carve out the hours needed to build something new?
Right, the time crunch. This is a big one for many people, and, well, the good news is it's definitely doable. It really is. We saw in the sweaty startup material that the person started their business while being a full-time student during finals week and track season.
No way. Finals and track season.
Yeah. So, if they could find the time then, it really shows that with the right strategies, you can carve out those important hours.
Okay, that's seriously impressive. So what are some of those effective strategies? How do you actually make time?
Well, one key approach that came up, and Jordan Platten mentioned this too, is really making the most of your mornings.
Ah, the early bird thing.
Exactly. He talked about making a conscious choice to get up earlier, even if you're not naturally a morning person. He started just by waking up an hour earlier to read and learn about, the specific type of business he wanted to build.
Just 1 hour.
Just 1 hour to start. He even mentioned the Miracle Morning book as something that helped him gradually shift his routine, eventually getting up at 5 a.m. and establishing a really productive morning ritual.
Wow, 5 a.m. That sounds intense, but I can see how it could be a real game changer for getting focused time in.
Absolutely. Those quiet hours, before the demands of the day really kick in, they can be incredibly valuable for concentrated work and learning.
Makes sense.
And this actually connects pretty well with the Doodle information we looked at.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, Doodle's obviously well known for its tools for scheduling meetings with groups, right? Finding the best time for everyone.
Yep, use those a lot.
But they also have features like 1.1 scheduling and booking pages, which are fantastic for individuals trying to manage their own time effectively.
I see.
So whether it's setting aside specific blocks of time for working on your business, or maybe giving clients or collaborators a clear view of when you're available, having those scheduling tools can be crucial for maximizing that limited time you have.
So it helps you kind of fence off that time.
Exactly. They help you plan, manage who's coming to any online events you might host, or just generally keep things organized when you're balancing a job and a new project. It's about structure.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So mornings for focused work, using scheduling tools to keep everything on track. What about the other big thing that holds people back? Money. Starting a business often needs some capital, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And this is where being really careful, maybe even frugal with your finances becomes super important.
Frugal.
Yeah. The sweaty startup material really stressed the need to be, and I quote, extremely tight with your money, at least in the beginning.
Extremely tight. Got it.
The main idea is to reduce your living expenses as much as you possibly can. That frees up money that you can then put back into your business, and it gives yourself some financial breathing room, a runway.
So like cutting out the lattes and subscriptions, that kind of thing.
Well, yes, but maybe even a bit beyond that. The materials suggested really thinking about selling things you don't absolutely need, maybe a second car.
Wow, okay.
Or, if it's possible, even considering moving to a less expensive place to live for a while.
That sounds pretty drastic.
It might sound drastic, yeah. But the point is to lower your financial burdens and free up as much cash as possible. The thinking is that the money you invest in your business, whether it's for advertising, equipment, or maybe hiring help later on, has the potential to give you much bigger returns.
Right, an investment in the future versus spending it now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better returns than funding a lifestyle that, as the material pointed out, you might not even be fully enjoying, or that might just be aimed at impressing people you don't need to impress.
That's a really good perspective. Prioritizing the long term. Okay, so let's say you're managing your time, or at least working on it, and you're being smart with your finances. How do you actually land on the right business idea? There are so many possibilities.
The idea itself. Yeah, this is where really testing and validating your idea comes in. It's crucial.
Okay.
Jordan Platten mentioned choosing a business model that really fit his personality and skills for him. That was social media marketing. That's a great starting point, aligning with who you are.
Makes sense. Play to your strengths.
Definitely. But even if you think you have the perfect idea, you absolutely need to make sure there's actually a demand for it before you spend a lot of time and money building something.
So don't just build it and hope people show up, like that movie line.
Exactly. Don't do the field of dreams approach here.
Right.
Gagbiani put it very directly. You're nothing until you have customers who want your product.
Ouch. But fair.
Right. He and Michael Greenwich talk about finding that idea market fit. It's that sweet spot where your idea solves a real problem for a specific group of people
Okay.
who are actually willing to pay for a solution. When you don't have that fit, everything feels like a struggle, like pushing a boulder uphill.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But when you do find it, they say, it's like all the lights turn on. Things just start clicking.
Okay, so how do you actually find that idea market fit? What are the concrete steps you should take?
Well, the resource we looked at on testing a business idea laid out a really helpful 5-step process. It's quite practical.
Okay, let's hear it. Step 1.
First, really nail down who your target market is. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Focus on a specific group.
Get specific.
Exactly. And the advice often is to look for groups that aren't being well served right now, an underserved niche. If you really understand their specific problems, you're already in a good position.
Makes sense. Focus on a specific niche. What's step 2?
Second, clearly define what value you're actually offering. What specific benefit are you providing to that target market?
Okay.
Gagbiani emphasized focusing on what people are already trained to do and how your business can help them do it better, faster, cheaper, whatever it is.
So solve an existing problem or desire.
Precisely. And he also stressed keeping your offering simple. Think about Stripe making payment processing easier, or Airbnb connecting travelers with unique places. Simple concepts. And be really specific in how you talk about it. Avoid those vague claims that you could do everything for everyone. Be sharp.
Got it. Know who you're helping, exactly how you're making their lives better. Keep it simple. Step 3.
This one's really important.
Yeah.
Actually talk to potential customers. Get out there and talk to people.
Okay, face to face.
Could be calls, video chats, whatever works. The goal here is to really understand their problems deeply and see if they would actually pay for what you're thinking of offering.
The paying part is key.
Crucial. The founders of CubeCost, for example, they did over 120 interviews to validate their idea.
Wow, 120. That's commitment.
Isn't it? Their advice is that when someone is genuinely excited about your idea, their eyes should light up. They should be engaged, asking questions, maybe even seem like they're ready to spend money on it right then.
Look for the excitement.
Yes. And don't be afraid to ask tough questions. Challenge your own assumptions. Probe a bit.
Okay, 120 interviews.
Yeah.
That really shows they wanted to be sure. What's step 4?
Do some market analysis. So even if individual people seem interested, you need to look at the bigger picture. Is the market itself big enough?
Right. Can this actually scale?
Exactly. Jessica McKellar from Pilot advised focusing on a large market that has potential for growth. It's generally easier to compete and grab a slice of a big pie than to try and create demand where it doesn't really exist or grow in a market that's just naturally small.
Like the real estate analogy they use, location, 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 or market size matters.
Precisely. Market size matters a lot.
Okay, so you've figured out your customers, defined your value, talked to people, checked the market size. What's the final step in validating the idea?
Test your minimum viable product, MVP.
Ah, the MVP. Heard that term a lot.
Yeah. This is about getting a very, very basic version of what you're offering out there to test your core assumptions in the real world. Gagan Biani suggested really focusing on the atomic unit, like the smallest possible thing you can offer that still delivers value.
Smallest possible thing.
Okay. And importantly, test just one major assumption at a time so you can get clear feedback. Don't try to test everything at once. For example, if your biggest worry is whether you can actually deliver what you're promising, maybe try manually delivering the service in a very simple, low-tech way first, just to see what the challenges are.
That's a really practical, step-by-step way to think about it. Take some of the scariness out of it. But what about some of the common questions people have? Like, where do you even find people to interview for step 3? That sounds hard.
That's a really common hurdle, yeah. It can feel intimidating reaching out to strangers. The advice is definitely not to just talk to your friends and family.
Why not? They're easy to reach.
They are, but they might be a bit biased, you know? They want to support you.
True. They might just tell you what you want to hear.
Exactly. So reaching out to people you don't know, what's sometimes called cold outreach, while it can be tough, it can actually be a good signal in itself.
How so?
Well, think about it. If people are willing to take time out of their day to talk to a stranger about a problem you think you can solve, it suggests that the problem is actually important to them.
Ah, okay. Their willingness to talk is data.
Right. Conversely, if you send out a bunch of emails or messages and get very few responses, that might indicate that the problem isn't as pressing or painful as you initially thought. It's valuable feedback either way.
That's a good point. Even a lack of interest tells you something important. And what about trying to avoid getting too attached to your own idea? It's easy to fall in love with what you've come up with, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Founder bias is real. It's natural to be excited, but you need to consciously try to be objective.
Easier said than done.
It is. Acknowledge that you might be biased and then actively seek out feedback, especially critical feedback, from people who aren't in your close circle and have no reason to just be nice. Be genuinely open to hearing their concerns and criticisms.
So embrace the criticism.
Kinda, yeah. The validation process isn't just about proving how brilliant your idea is. It's really about reducing risk.
Yeah.
As Ryan Glasgow put it, there's just as much success in realizing an idea isn't going to work before you pour a ton of resources into it,
Right.
as there is in finding a winning idea. Feeling fast and cheap during validation is actually a win.
That's a really important way to look at it. Okay, great. So you've validated your idea. It looks promising. Now, how do you actually get the word out there? Especially without spending a ton of money, when you're just starting out and, like you said, being extremely tight with cash.
Right, the marketing challenge on a budget.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are a lot of free and low-cost ways you can market your business, especially in the early stages. That WordStream article we looked at had tons of great ideas.
Okay, let's hear some. What's free and fast?
Okay, top of the list, free and fast. Set up and optimize a free Google business profile. Seriously, everyone should do this, especially for businesses that serve a local area.
Why is that so important?
It's huge for showing up on Google Maps and in local search results. Like when someone searches coffee shop near me or plumber in your town.
Yeah.
If you're not there, you're invisible to a lot of potential customers.
Definitely a must-do then, especially for local businesses. What else is free and relatively quick?
Being active and engaging on social media is another big one. Figure out where your ideal customers hang out online, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, wherever it might be, and create business profiles there.
Just having a profile isn't enough, though.
Oh, absolutely not. You need to actually use it. Share your blog posts if you have them, interact with your followers, ask questions, run polls, show your brand's personality. The key here is being consistent, trying to build a community, and genuinely interacting with people. Don't just broadcast.
Interact, not just post. Got it.
And also, don't forget the power of tagging other relevant people and brands in your posts that can really broaden your reach. And encourage your followers to tag your business too, maybe in photos or reviews. And of course, using relevant hashtags.
Sure.
That helps people discover your content when they're searching. Think about broad ones, specific ones, location-based ones, even creating your own custom hashtag.
Right, the hashtags.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Google Business Profile. They mentioned optimizing the top 3 things.
Yeah, that was a good tip. Focus on a clear business description using keywords people actually search for. Make sure your business name, address, and phone number are consistent everywhere online. And add recent, engaging photos. Think of it like digital curb appeal.
Your digital curb appeal. I like that. Okay, social media feels essential, but yeah, it can also feel like a full-time job. Being consistent definitely sounds key. Any other quick wins in the free category?
Don't overlook LinkedIn, especially if you're in a B2B space, or even if you just want to build professional connections in your industry. Join relevant conversations in groups, share your expertise, post updates.
Right, build authority there.
Exactly. And encourage any employees you might eventually have to be active there as well, sharing company content. It expands your reach significantly.
Okay, those are some good starting points for the free and fast stuff. What about the free marketing ideas that maybe take a bit more effort but are still free?
Right. These take more time but can have a bigger long-term payoff. Local SEO is one huge area. This goes beyond just the Google Business Profile.
No, so.
It involves making sure your website is optimized for local search. Think about what someone in your specific neighborhood or city would type into Google. Use those location-based keywords naturally in your website content.
Okay.
Also, getting listed in relevant online directories and maybe even creating content specifically about local neighborhoods or events. It takes time to build this up, but it can really boost your visibility in local search results over time.
So digging deeper into attracting nearby customers, what else takes more effort but is still free?
Developing an email marketing plan. This is crucial for building relationships. Don't just collect emails, use them.
What should you send?
Offer something valuable in exchange for signing up a discount, a free guide, something. Then nurture those subscribers with helpful, interesting content, not just sales pitches. And make sure every email has a clear call to action. What do you want them to do?
And there are free tools for this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Services like MailChimp have free plans that are perfect for getting started.
Okay, email. It might seem a bit old school to some, but yeah, it's still a really direct way to connect.
It really is. And another idea, creating data-rich infographics. People love visuals, and infographics make complex information easy to digest and share.
But doesn't that require design skills?
Not necessarily. There are great free tools like Canva or Visme that have templates and make it pretty easy, even if you're not a designer. You can find free data from government sources like data.gov or the Census Bureau or maybe industry reports to create something really compelling and relevant to your audience.
Infographics are definitely eye-catching. Okay, any other free but more effort ideas?
Let's see. Oh, looking for and claiming any free advertising credits. Sometimes platforms like Google Ads or Facebook Ads offer credits to new advertisers. Your web hosting company might offer some too. It takes a bit of digging, but free ad spend is always good.
Worth looking for, definitely.
Also, applying for relevant business awards in your industry or community. Winning can boost your credibility significantly and give you nice badges to put on your website.
Good for PR, too.
Exactly. And if you're feeling creative, consider trying some guerrilla marketing tactics. These are those unconventional, low-cost, often localized ideas that rely on creativity and surprise rather than a big budget. Think street art, clever flyers, small stunts.
Guerrilla marketing. I love that. Getting creative and making an impact locally without breaking the bank.
That's the idea. And of course, maybe the most fundamental thing, publishing really great content, blog posts, articles, guides.
Content marketing.
Yes. Content that genuinely educates your audience, answers their questions, and uses the language they use. Keep it simple, clear, and helpful. This is invaluable for building trust and improving your Google visibility, your SEO.
So starting a blog is probably a good idea.
Highly recommended. It drives traffic to your website, gives you stuff to share on social media, and builds your SEO authority over time. Keep the posts focused, maybe on specific keywords or customer questions.
Oh,
And think about forming partnerships with other businesses. Find businesses that serve a similar audience but aren't direct competitors. You could do joint webinars, co-create content, cross-promote each other. It exposes you to entirely new customer bases.
smart.
Yep.
Leverage other audiences.
Yep. And finally, don't underestimate video. Posting helpful how-to videos, product demos, behind-the-scenes glimpses on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels. Whatever fits, make sure they have clear calls to action.
So many great ideas here, and it really drives home that you don't necessarily need a massive budget to start building your brand and getting noticed. What about those ideas that are practically free? They might cost a little bit, but not much.
Right, these involve a small investment, maybe of time or a tiny bit of money, but are still very accessible. Think about hosting small workshops or classes and putting up flyers on local community boards. Running and informative webinars can be done very cheaply these days.
Okay.
Actively attending industry and networking events. There might be small entry fees, but the connections can be invaluable. Hosting social media contests and giveaways is another one. The prizes don't have to be expensive. Even just your own product or service can work.
People love free stuff.
They really do. For physical stores, having a business card drawing is a classic, easy way to build an email list. And perhaps one of the most powerful strategies in this category, setting up a customer referral program.
Ah, word-of-mouth marketing.
Exactly. Encourage your happy customers to spread the word, maybe offer them a small discount or bonus for successful referrals. The stats on this are amazing. Word of mouth is a primary factor for many purchasing decisions. Referred customers are way more likely to buy and stick around longer.
That seems incredibly valuable.
It is. Other ideas include joining local community events or sponsoring small local contests, getting good quality business cards. Don't skimp too much here. Maybe using car magnets if that fits your business, and even running very targeted Facebook ad campaigns with a small daily budget, like $5 or $10 a day, focused on a very specific audience.
Wow, that's a fantastic range of marketing options. It really highlights that creativity and effort can often be more effective than just throwing money at the problem, especially early on. Okay, so as you're navigating all this, the idea, the time, the money, the marketing, what are some of the common mistakes that people starting out should really try to avoid?
Yeah, knowing the pitfalls is just as important as knowing the opportunities. The Business News Daily article we looked at had a good list, one of the biggest. Being afraid of failing.
But failure feels bad.
It does, but it's often a necessary part of learning, especially in business. Many successful entrepreneurs failed multiple times before hitting on the right thing. You have to see it as feedback.
Okay. Reframe failure as learning. What else?
Another really critical one is not creating a business plan. People think it has to be this huge formal document,
Right. Sounds intimidating.
but it doesn't. Even a simple one-page plan that outlines your goals, your target market, your basic strategy. It helps you stay focused and measure your progress. It's your roadmap.
Makes sense. Even a simple map is better than no map.
Exactly. Also, just being disorganized. When you're starting out, you're juggling a million things. Having daily to-do lists, prioritizing tasks. It sounds basic, but it's essential to stay on track and not get overwhelmed.
Those all sound pretty fundamental, yeah. What are some other common mistakes people make?
Not clearly defining who your target market is, or worse, assuming you know without actually talking to them. We talked about validation. This is why it's so important. Talk to potential customers.
Right. Avoid building something nobody wants.
Precisely. Also, trying to do absolutely everything yourself. The solopreneur burnout is real. You can't be an expert in everything. Seek out advice, find mentors, maybe eventually get advisors. Don't try to wear all the hats forever.
Okay, ask for help. What about hiring?
That leads to the next one. Hiring employees too soon. Full-time employees are a big commitment: salary, benefits, taxes. Consider using part-time help, freelancers, or subcontractors first, especially early on, to keep costs down and stay flexible.
Good point. And related to costs.
Underestimating how much money you'll actually need. This is a classic. Things always take longer and cost more than you expect. Factor in a buffer for unexpected costs and potential delays in revenue. Be conservative with your estimates.
Better to overestimate costs than underestimate them.
Absolutely. It sounds like a lot of these mistakes come from maybe being unprepared or trying to grow too fast.
Yeah, it seems that way.
And that's another one. Expanding too quickly. Getting early traction is exciting, but trying to scale up before you have a really solid foundation, stable processes, enough cash flow can be a recipe for disaster. Slow and steady often wins the race, especially at the start.
Okay. Resist the urge to scale too fast.
Also, not setting up proper bookkeeping from day one. Mixing personal and business finances, not tracking income and expenses accurately. It makes tax time a nightmare, and you won't have a clear picture of your financial health. Get some basic accounting software or help early.
Financial hygiene is key.
Very key. And related to customers. Overpromising and underdelivering. It's tempting to say yes to everything to win business, but if you can't follow through well, you'll damage your reputation quickly. Manage expectations realistically.
Under-promise, over-deliver is the classic advice, right?
Exactly. Also, just generally underestimating the demands of the business. People sometimes romanticize entrepreneurship. It takes a significant amount of time, energy, money, and it can be really, really challenging emotionally. Be realistic about the commitment involved.
It's good to have that honest reality check. Any other key mistakes to watch out for as we wrap this section up?
Definitely. In today's world, ignoring online marketing is just a huge missed opportunity. Even if you're a local brick-and-mortar business, people are looking for you online. You need some kind of online presence.
Can't ignore the internet.
Nope. Similarly, not leveraging technology where it makes sense. There's software for everything now. Scheduling, accounting, marketing automation, project management. Using the right tools can make you way more efficient and profitable. Don't be afraid of tech.
Embrace the tools.
Yes. And maybe the overarching one. Failing to learn from your initial missteps. Mistakes will happen. The key is to recognize them, understand why they happened, and adjust your approach so you don't keep repeating them. Continuous learning is vital.
Those are all really valuable warnings, things to definitely keep in mind. Now, let's talk about something that's especially crucial when you're maybe trying to balance a regular job with building this new thing, burnout. How do you manage to avoid just crashing and burning?
Burnout.
Yeah, it's a very, very real concern, especially for founders and side hustlers. That Reddit discussion we looked at brought up a lot of really practical, lived advice from business owners.
Okay, what did they suggest?
One common theme was taking smaller, more frequent breaks or mini vacations. You might not be able to take a 2-week holiday, but even just 2 or 3 days completely away can make a huge difference for your mental and physical well-being. Recharge regularly.
Little resets. Makes sense?
Another big one, outsource tasks that aren't your core strengths or, frankly, that you just hate doing. If bookkeeping drains your soul, hire a bookkeeper as soon as you can afford it. Free up your time and energy for the things only you can do or the things you actually enjoy.
Delegate the drudgery.
Exactly. Some people also found it helpful to reframe the feeling of burnout. Instead of seeing it just as exhaustion, see it as a signal from your body or mind that something needs to change, that your current way of working isn't sustainable, and maybe better things are on the horizon if you make adjustments. That's an interesting mental shift. Reframe burnout as a signal for positive change. What other tips came up?
Building some buffer time or margin into your schedule. Don't book yourself back-to-back constantly. Leave space for unexpected things to pop up, for tasks to take longer than expected, or just for breathing room. Avoid that feeling of constantly rushing.
Yeah, that constant pressure is exhausting.
It really is. Also, connecting with other business owners. Find a peer group, maybe people in different industries so there's no competition. Just having people to talk to who get what you're going through can be incredibly supportive and validating. You're not alone.
Community is important.
Very. And importantly, thinking about setting up your business in a way that helps prevent burnout from the start rather than just reacting to it once it hits. This includes things like setting clear boundaries around your work hours. Decide when your workday ends and stick to it as much as possible so you can actually disconnect.
Those boundaries can be so hard to enforce when it's your own baby, your own business, but yeah, they sound absolutely essential for long-term survival.
They really are. And linked to that is prioritizing self-care. This isn't fluffy stuff, it is essential maintenance.
Like what specifically?
Making sure you get enough sleep, that's huge.
Yeah.
Being mindful of caffeine and alcohol intake, taking regular breaks during the day, even just a 5-minute walk outside without your phone, eating reasonably healthy food, finding ways to de-stress, whether it's listening to music, exercise, hobbies, finding ways to laugh.
The basics, but they make a difference.
They make a huge difference. Someone on Reddit used that great analogy. It's like putting on your own oxygen mask on an airplane first before helping others. You have to take care of yourself first if you want to be effective in your business long term.
That's a powerful analogy. Put your own mask on first.
Exactly. Others talked about consciously making adjustments to their business model or workload over time, realizing that maybe chasing every single possible dollar isn't worth the burnout. Maybe you can earn a bit less, but have a much more sustainable and enjoyable life. It's a conscious trade-off.
Finding that balance.
Yes. And related to outsourcing. Hiring effectively and delegating tasks as soon as you can realistically afford to is key to freeing up your time and reducing your load. Don't be a bottleneck.
Let go of some control?
You have to. And finally, developing hobbies and interests completely separate from work. Having something else that engages you and helps you switch off is vital. Creating routines around ending your workday can help signal to your brain that it's time to disconnect.
Like packing up your workspace or going for a walk right after work.
Exactly, those kinds of transition rituals. Also, recognizing your own limits and learning to say no. Avoid the urge to overcommit. Just because you can technically do something doesn't always mean you should. Be very intentional about adding new projects or responsibilities to your plate. Protect your time and energy.
That's a really thorough look at managing burnout. It's so clear it's not just about grit and pushing through. It's about being proactive, setting boundaries, and making conscious choices to protect your well-being. Okay, one final area that came up as important, especially in the early stages, is choosing the right legal structure for your business. Let's touch on that briefly.
Yes, absolutely. That Journal of Small Business Strategy article really highlighted this. Choosing a legal structure, like are you going to be a sole proprietorship, a partnership, maybe form an LLC, limited liability company, or a corporation? This is a really important strategic decision you need to make early on.
Why is it so critical?
Because it has significant implications down the road for things like your startup costs, your personal liability, meaning can someone sue you personally if the business gets into trouble, how your business profits are taxed, and your ability to raise funding or investment later.
Okay, so it affects liability and taxes, mainly.
Those are two of the big ones, yes. An LLC, for instance, is popular because it can offer business owners protection from personal liability for business debts and lawsuits. So if the business fails or gets sued, your personal assets, like your house or car, are generally protected. That's a key benefit for many people starting out.
That sounds like a pretty big advantage.
It can be. However, the specific rules and protections and how LLCs are taxed can vary quite a bit from state to state, so you definitely need to look into your local requirements.
So it's not just a simple form you fill out without much thought. It requires some research.
Definitely not just a simple form. The research actually found that small business owners who take the time to consult with professionals like accountants and/or attorneys when making this decision, they're much more likely to understand the full spectrum of implications, liability, taxes, costs, financing options.
Okay.
And interestingly, they're generally more satisfied with how their chosen structure impacts their business's profitability later on.
So getting some professional advice here is probably a good investment.
Highly recommended, yes. Really thinking through that liability protection, understanding the tax implications before you make the choice is crucial.
That's really good to know. It definitely sounds like getting that legal foundation right early on can save a lot of potential headaches and maybe even money down the road.
Absolutely. It's a key strategic piece in setting your business up for long-term health and success. Don't overlook it in the initial rush.
Well, this has been incredibly helpful, really practical stuff. To maybe sum things up, if someone's listening and thinking about starting that business or side hustle, while also juggling everything else life throws at them, what are the main things they should really keep in mind from our conversation?
Okay, the key takeaways I'd say are, first, really understand your personal why, what's driving you. Let that be your fuel. Second, be super strategic and intentional about managing your time, maybe leveraging mornings and your finances be tight, reduce expenses.
Got it. Why? Time, money.
Third, rigorously test and validate your business idea before you invest too heavily. Talk to potential customers. Find that idea market fit. Fourth, take advantage of the huge number of free and low-cost marketing tools and strategies out there. You don't need a huge budget to get started.
Validate, market smart.
Okay. Fifth, learn from the common mistakes other new businesses make. We covered a lot of those pitfalls. Sixth, make your well-being a priority. Actively manage stress and take steps to avoid burnout. Put your oxygen mask on first.
Mistakes, burnout, right.
And finally, understand the importance of choosing the right legal structure early on and get professional advice if you need it.
Legal structure. Okay, that's a great summary. So it definitely takes effort, there's no doubt about that, but it sounds absolutely achievable with good planning, a realistic mindset, and focusing on these key areas.
Exactly. It's work, but it's doable work if you approach it thoughtfully.
And for anyone listening who's maybe feeling that spark, that excitement about an idea right now, what's one small, actionable thing they could maybe do today based on what we've talked about?
One small step today. I would encourage them to think about that initial business idea they have and ask themselves, what's the very first biggest assumption I'm making about this idea that I really need to check out? Is it that people want this? Is it that they'll pay for it? Is it that I can actually deliver it?
Identify the core assumption.
Yes, identify that core assumption.
Yeah.
Then maybe try to find just one person today or tomorrow who fits the profile of a potential customer and just have a quick conversation with them specifically about that assumption. Ask them about the problem you think you're solving.
Just one conversation.
Just one to start. That single conversation can give you incredibly valuable insights or maybe raise new questions. It's a fantastic, low-risk way to kick off that crucial validation process we talked about.
That's brilliant. Test one assumption with one person. Very manageable.
Exactly. And of course, maybe dive a bit deeper into some of these resources we've mentioned if something sparked your interest. There's a wealth of knowledge out there to help you on your journey.